Refugees continue to arrive in their hundreds, and that may increase once the rainy season subsides. We continue to operate in a situation where we're chronically and severely underfunded. So far this year, the humanitarian response has received just 21% of the $674 million needed to provide all the needs to South Sudanese refugees in Uganda in 2017.
Well, joining me now from Geneva is Babor Baloch. He's UNHCR's senior spokesman for East Africa, the Horn of Africa and the Great Lakes. Babor, thank you very much for joining us on the Newsmakers. We're lucky to have you because you've actually just come back from South Sudan, Ethiopia and Sudan. Tell us about the situation in South Sudan. Why are people leaving in such great numbers?
It's quite a desperate situation inside South Sudan. Since July 2016, with renewed violence and more attacks on civilians, many of South Sudanese have been on the move. I went to Juba, South Sudan's capital, where we met with the internally displaced people who were taking refuge in a UN camp that was protected by the UN. I went outside of Juba, met internally displaced people over there. They're quite tired of all this happening for too long over there. When you talk to them, try to find out, everyone is trying to run for their lives inside South Sudan as well. So we have around 2 million South Sudanese that have been internally displaced because of all these happening inside the countries, and as well we have 2 million South Sudanese who have been forced to take refuge in the neighboring countries.
Now, these people are civilians. They're not combatants. Why do they have to move out of their homes?
Exactly. What we have seen is that civilians have come under attack because of their ethnicity, armed groups in the country, different factions fighting over there, but quite often civilians have been the target of this ongoing and recurring violence inside South Sudan, and it doesn't seem to be an ending to all this tragedy today. There doesn't seem to be a serious effort to bring the warring parties on the table for a dialogue so that South Sudan's civilians, its people, can have a chance to live in peace.
What do you think could change that? And if you could be so bold as to tell me, who do you blame for that?
I think we need to put pressure on all sides. International community has to come forward.
But isn't that the United Nations job?
Some sense of I think it's all sides have to step forward. We as humanitarians, not having a role in the politics, we are dealing with the consequences which is falling on the people of South Sudan. So what we are trying to urge, we need to see a sense of urgency in a peace initiative so South Sudan civilians, its people, get a chance to live in peace.
So once the South Sudanese have made it to Uganda, they're received quite well. Your colleagues in Uganda have been reporting on the situation there. What have they said?
Exactly. South Sudanese who have been arriving in Uganda, they have been received quite well with a lot of generosity. So you don't find refugees in Uganda being in camps. They end up in settlements where we help them building shelter, providing basic services with the government. But also Uganda has a progressive refugee policy, which means they don't want refugees to rely only on aid, but they have access to all the basic services. Host communities are sharing land with them. Every refugees receive a piece of land to cultivate and farm things. So it's all to help them make a sustainable living in Uganda. But the problem has been now Uganda is hosting over 1 million South Sudanese refugees. Uganda is doing what it could do on its own part. International support is falling short, by which I mean that the money we need for refugees in Uganda, that's not there. We are struggling.
Do you have
UNHCR and other humanitarian organizations.
Baba, I'm sorry to ask, but do you have the facts and figures to hand to tell me which countries, which regions are really failing to pull their weight here?
I think if we broadly look at the numbers in terms of funding, we are short of 80% of funds for Uganda at least, where we need over $600 million. And let's not forget, this is August. We already have been through 8 months of the year. So it is putting a lot of pressure on the host.
Who are you chasing for the money, Baba? This is what we need to know. We need to know, who are you chasing for the money? Who are you expecting money to come from?
All the donors,
which
all
donors?
the donor
Which countries
who could step forward and give us money. I mean, everyone who has,
Look,
and even not on the donor countries.
You have 21% of the money needed. Where is the money come from, and where is the money not coming from? We need to know this. It's a transparent issue.
It indeed it is, and for the 20% that have come, those who have been giving it to us, we are thankful. But we need much more to have in our hand. For each $5 that we need to help these refugees, currently we have just one to spend.
Where is the money coming from, and where is it not coming from?
I think the money is coming from our individual donors or the donors that usually are in the international community who give us money, but it's not enough. We need to see
Can you tell us who they
more.
are?
See, it is an international responsibility. It's not a time to name, but our urge
are we
or our
talking about
focus
countries,
is
Baba?
for countries. Exactly, we're talking about countries, we are talking about regional blocs, financial institutions, individuals, and corporations as well. So it is a global responsibility, and Uganda should not be left to handle it alone.
Is Uganda in danger of running out of money to help its neighbours? After all, it's not the richest country in the world.
Indeed not. I mean, the communities that are hosting refugees, like globally, are one of the most poorest communities. They even themselves don't have enough. So it's quite urgent that more money or resources are at hand to help Uganda and then help refugees. It has put Uganda under immense pressure. There are more and more children in small classrooms. Health services are under immense pressure. Food ration, the basic services that we could provide, everything is at a tipping point here.
Baba Baloch in Geneva, thank you so much for joining us on the Newsmakers.